Welcome, apprentices. Go ahead and grab a hard hat. Gather around. Today's explainer is a special lesson right from the job site about what it truly takes to master the building trades. We're going to look at the life's work of a man who didn't just construct buildings, but literally built an entire legacy of opportunity.
So before you even pick up your tools today, I want you to really think about this question. What does it actually take to become a master builder? Because true mastery in this industry, it requires way more than just knowing how to swing a hammer or, read a tape measure. It requires a solid blueprint for character.
Well, let's dive right into this blueprint left for us by Abdur Hameed, the founder of the Black Contractors Association. His career was basically built in three distinct phases: humility as the foundation, integrity as the framework, and service as the shelter.
Starting with Phase 1, a foundation of humility.
Look, every solid structure starts from the ground up, right? And for Hameed, that foundation meant actually learning from the guys who came before him. He firmly believed that leadership wasn't about ego, it wasn't about just shouting orders across the site, it was about knowing your craft so perfectly and carrying yourself with such moral clarity that you could effortlessly lift up the rest of your crew. True leaders, they listen just as much as they speak.
And he absolutely didn't skip any steps. I mean, we're talking about a guy who started out just building go-karts and pigeon cages in his mother's backyard. Then he put in those grueling, sweaty hours as an apprentice under a journeyman named Alvin Jones. By 18, he was spending 4 years as a master welder for the Navy building warships, learning the whole shebang, from stick welding to mud rod. He mastered the absolute fundamentals before he ever tried to run his own crew and become one of San Diego's youngest black contractors.
Okay, moving on to Phase 2, the framework of integrity.
Once that foundation is poured, you need a framework of integrity. And that means doing the job right, for sure, but also standing up when the system itself is structurally flawed. Back in the early 80s, when Hameed noticed that outside contractors and banks were taking over the jobs building the churches in his own community, he didn't just sit back and complain, no way. He used his integrity to organize local leaders, pastors, and tradesmen to demand a fair market share for local black workers.
Now, to put this into perspective, think about the staggering statistic. Out of more than 10,800 carpenter apprentices in the entire state of California at the time, only 742 were black. That is a massive structural imbalance, and it shows exactly why Hameed felt he had to fight so hard against exclusionary hiring practices throughout his entire career.
Looking at this breakdown gives you the full picture. These statewide demographics for construction apprenticeships objectively highlight a severe underutilization of black workers compared to their population size. It was exactly this kind of structural imbalance that the Black Contractors Association was specifically organized to correct.
And this kind of leads us into the two different systems that dominate our industry. On one side, you've got union programs, which often have collective bargaining mandates. On the other side, Hameed's BCA championed the state-approved open shop model. The BCA argued this open shop model was totally essential to ensure unskilled, inner-city workers from all backgrounds could get a foot in the door on job sites, without facing initial financial barriers like union dues or exclusionary mandates right out of the gate.
All right, Phase 3, fighting for equal opportunity.
Sometimes, apprentices, being a real builder means you actually have to put down the saw and pick up a picket sign. You have to make sure the doors you're building are actually open to everyone. The BCA impartially pointed out that publicly funded taxpayer projects, stuff like the airport and big city improvements, were often leaving inner-city minority workers completely out of the equation. They just wanted to ensure that the taxes paid by their communities actually resulted in jobs for their communities.
It is absolutely crucial for you to understand the structural red tape out there, like project labor agreements, or PLAs for short. Now, while PLAs are designed to set employment conditions, the BCA highlighted that they often require workers to come exclusively from union halls. Understanding these rules of the job site is literally the only way you can learn to navigate them, or, as Hameed did, boldly challenge them to include open shop apprentices too. But see, Hameed wasn't just about pointing fingers. The guy was a builder at heart. So, he hosted a coalition of construction industry leaders summit that drafted this incredibly concrete blueprint for equalizing the industry. They laid out practical, actionable solutions, strictly tracking workforce data by race and gender on city projects, exposing kids to the trades as early as 8 years old, and building real resource centers to train unskilled laborers.
Which brings us to Phase 4, building for the community.
This is the roof, the shelter. It's what you actually provide to your community once you've mastered your skills and built your own business.
Hameed's true legacy was ensuring that the next generation of youth isn't left standing on the outside of the chain link fence just looking in. It's about handing them the actual tools to fight for their own futures, their own economic independence, and their own neighborhoods.
He put this right into practice through incredible programs like Youth Build. This initiative brought in unemployed young adults, some who were even aging out of the foster care system, and had them construct affordable housing for the homeless right in their own neighborhoods. While they were learning framing and drywall, they were also getting their GEDs. Hameed proved that teaching a trade is actually about teaching independent survival.
And you can see the real-world results of this blueprint in guys like Dwight Booker, an injured athlete who found a whole new path through the BCA to become a highly skilled foreman running massive crews. Or Abdul Ibn Najor, who started out as a green apprentice and went on to build a contracting business, generating millions. These men used Hameed's exact blueprint to become owners who now hire and train workers straight from their own communities. Talk about a full circle.
Finally, let's look at the finished building. Take a step back from the scaffolding for a second and look at the total structure Abdur Hameed built over his 40-year career. I really want you to remember this quote as you head out to the site today. You don't have to chase the title of boss. Actually, scratch that, you shouldn't chase it. If you focus on your foundation of humility, if you perfect your craft with integrity, and if you dedicate your skills to serving your crew and your community, the leadership role will naturally find you.
So we've handed you the blueprint, you've seen the history, you've studied the examples, and now you have the tools right there in your tool belt. The only question left for you apprentices is this: what will you construct with them? Class dismissed, now get out there and build something great.